sick man here. This is probably isn't the very best one, right? Um, and one thing that we can do is that we can do what's called there's this thing called a medial line or midline rather, not medial line, midline. And this midline, and I'll just kind of do these hatch lines here, and they just kind of go right down the middle right here. And so anything that faces this line, right, this is going to be called, so I'll just write this as the midline here, right? But anything that faces toward the midline is going to be called medial, right? And anything that faces away from the midline is going to be called lateral, right? So, and I can actually kind of just draw that kind of right here, just kind of with hatch lines, that this would be your medial toward the midline, and things that are going to be away would be your lateral. Okay, so remember that in these directional terms, we are always going to be asking these questions in relation to one another. So, for a good question I could ask you is that what is, so if I were to draw, so I'll just draw my little eyes here, and I have a little nose here, and I'll just draw my little invisible midline there, right? And so if I were to ask you, what is more medial, your eyes or your nose, right? So what structure is more medial, right, or toward the midline there, right? So hopefully you would have guessed that it's going to be your nose would be more medial, right? So that would be more medial, right? Or I could also ask you, what is more lateral, your eyes or your ears, right? And hopefully you would know that it would be your ears, right? Because your midline is here and your eyes are closer to the midline than your ears, right? So your ears would be more lateral, right? So hopefully that helps with that. And in regards to intermediate, we don't really use that much, but if you look at here, we could say, so here's your sternum or your breastbone, and this is your arm. Right? Oops, I shouldn't be using this. So you have your sternum and your arm, and we could say the clavicle is intermediate between the sternum and your arm there, right? So it's intermediate just means between something, right? So we don't really use that a lot, but it's something that you should be familiar with. Okay, so hopefully that helps with the directional terms.